All that's just been completely blown out of the water due to the whole meta-narrative of the nasty comments towards Lindsay Lohan. So yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
FlynnsArcade.
Hi, this is FlynnsArcade, and this is my video about Mean Girls 2024, which is a reboot of the film with the same title from 2004, but with a musical twist. Before I start, please can you do me a favour and press the like button and subscribe to the channel. And now, on with the video. We all know the story of Mean Girls. It's about a young, naive girl called Katie who moves to the US, integrates herself within a glamorous group called the Plastics, gets sucked into a revenge saga and ends up going power mad, basically. However, eventually everything sorts itself out. The girls all make friends again and they all manage to coexist. However, we're left with the memory of a new crew of girls who look just like the Plastics but a younger version, knowing that there's potential for this story to keep happening again and again and again. Bringing back old films and a reboot is always a bit dodgy. Original fans of the film are always sceptical about what's going to happen with a deeply loved piece of film, and new fans might get confused by it if they feel that the media is too old-fashioned. In this video I'm going to discuss all the problems and the successes that were found during the Mean Girls reboot. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the things that I liked in the Mean Girls reboot. A real standout aspect of it was Renee Rapp's performance as Regina. She brought a real depth to the character. Her singing was amazing, and as she's a pop star when she's not being a Broadway star and now a movie star, she brought a real element of glamour which made the role of Regina very plausible in her hands. I also particularly liked a couple of the in-jokes in the film, especially the part where Gretchen tries to make fetch happen and Regina asks her, where did you get fetch from? And she says, oh, I don't know, it's from an old film like Juno or something. I thought that was quite funny and a really nice callback to the original movie. I particularly enjoyed Owl EE's and Shaquille Speavy's portrayal of Damien and Janice. Like, I thought they brought new, real life to the characters. They're both amazing singers, and I really enjoyed the talent show where Damien did a performance of the iCarly theme in French. I just found that really funny, and I really enjoyed that part of the movie. Mean Girls 2024 is quite a long film, it's 2 hours long. However, it's very colourful and it's very fast moving, so the time just flew by. It didn't feel boring or stilted or anything, so it is a very enjoyable film to watch. However, those are things that I liked, and now I'm going to move on to the things I didn't like, and there are quite a lot of things. One of the problems with the reboot was the inclusion of the types of fashion that they used, because fashion is a really important aspect of mise-en-scène in the original movie. The girls, like the gang, like the Plastics, they're they've got all sorts of dress code rules, like, you're only allowed to, you have to wear pink on a Wednesday, you're not allowed to wear sweatpants and things like that. So it's actually very important to the characters in the film. Stylistically, it's incredibly important because the film is told through the eyes of Katie, and she's a naive young girl, and she's never seen an American teenage girl before. So to her mind, the Plastics, they look like supermodels or film stars. I mean, they probably do as well, because in universe, the girls have all got very rich parents and they're also quite spoiled, especially Regina. So they would have had access to incredibly expensive clothing, and especially an incredibly fashionable clothing. So I was very disappointed to see what they were wearing in the reboot. So now we're going to look at a creator called Chisholm, who's does a lot of fashion blogs, and listen to what she has to say about the fashion of Mean Girls. She doesn't take any prisoners.
So I went to see the Mean Girls movie last weekend. Am I the only one who thought the outfits looked really ugly and cheap? Every outfit in the original had a very sophisticated and feminine quality. I feel like these new outfits look like some sort of caricature or like costumey version of what adults think Gen Zs wear.
So as we can see in Chisholm's video, the Plastics have gone from like really glamorous, untouchable icons to people who are wearing like 4-year-old Shein. Like I mean, it's basic as fuck, and they've really ruined an important plot device within Mean Girls, because one of the nastier revenge events, possibly the nastiest revenge events in the movie, in the original, is when Katie and Janice somehow persuade Regina to eat a really high calorie diet, and she ends up being unable to fit her old expensive clothes, so much so she's not a member of the Plastics anymore because she's not allowed to sit with them. So replacing her expensive designer clothes with like items from Shein and sides, it just means the plot doesn't make any sense, because all that would have happened is that if Regina had just bought new clothes, like she'd have spent like £20 on a new pair of trousers from Shein, or 2 new pairs of trousers from Shein, so the plot just stopped making any sense because of the wardrobe design. I mean, it's another thing as well is that a lot of Regina's power came from her physical appearance, because if we go back to 2004, like social media wasn't a thing, and also there was trends were towards the body type of people being very, very slim. There was quite a lot of, quite a lot of power associated with it. I mean, this is in the days of where like size 0 was like the zenith of how people wanted to look. Nowadays, there's a lot more. There's a trend to a lot more body diversity in media. So the whole thing just doesn't work in the same way as it did in those days. I mean, but the fashion element of Mean Girls, which I would describe as a massive fashion fail, really makes the plot device, which has gone from really shocking and evil thing in the original movie to quite redundant in the reboot. I really liked the inclusion of music in Mean Girls. I thought it really added to the action, although I don't think it added a huge amount to the plot. And in a lot of ways, because of the reduction in dialogue, it meant that quite a lot of the story seemed to be lost. We're now going to look at a clip from Sapphic Underground, who talks about the portrayal of lesbianism within Mean Girls, both in the original and the reboot.
Now, when it comes to Mean Girls, it might not seem like lesbianism plays that big a part in the original 2004 film, because none of the characters in it are canonically lesbian. But if you think about it, the entire plot of Mean Girls is driven by this unhealed rift between Janice Ian and Regina George, and that rift between them is centered around lesbianism. Furthermore, when you really break down the characterization of Janice Ian and even the characterization of Regina George, there are elements of it which are purposefully lesbian coded.
The fuse between Regina and Janice is what drives the whole plot of Mean Girls. Were it not for Janice getting in Katie's ear and coming up and using Katie as a device to enact all of the revenge plots, what would have happened basically is Katie would have just gotten in with the Plastics, and she'd have just been quite happy to be friends with them, and she'd have just ended up in the same way as Gretchen or Karen did, just being like one of Regina's gang. However, because of Janice's influence, that's it's the main driver to actually cause all the problems in the film. I've often thought about, because I've seen Mean Girls a lot of times. I watch it about once a year or something, and I've often thought about what is behind Regina's general attitude to life. I mean, why is she so angry? In a lot of ways, she has the perfect life. I mean, she's beautiful, she's from a rich family, she has a lot of social capital, but she's always angry all the time. And one of the reasons why I was sure she was so angry was because she has a lot of internalised biphobia that she's dealing with. And unfortunately, poor Janice is the victim of her taking out all her internalised rage. And also, to back up myself up in the theory, is like Renee, who played Regina in the remake. That was how she played the character. She played her as a sapphic woman, and very successfully. However, I can't help thinking though that within the remake, that Regina went from being, quite a tortured character. Like she was a horrible person, but with this idea that she's got this, this internalized biphobia that's sort of that's impacting on, everything in her life. It adds a real complexity to the character, and so you start to feel sorry for her in a way. I mean, there are parts of the film that you start to feel incredibly sorry for her. For example, the part when she has put on weight and she's not allowed to sit with her friends and she can't fit into her own clothes.
You can't sit with us!
These sweatpants are all that fits me right now.
But as she reads in the character as a sapphic woman, adds a real depth to it and adds some real sympathy to it, especially because she's dealing with a lot of internalised anxiety over it. So times have changed, and society, at least in the Western world, is a lot more accepting of LGBT teenagers. However, I can't help feeling that in the reboot that the complexity has been removed quite a lot from Regina's character. So she goes from being somebody who's quite tortured, within reason, actually, because she's dealing with some quite difficult psychological issues. And now in an attempt to make the film more palatable to the modern audience and toning down Regina's homophobia, it actually makes her into a far less sympathetic a character. I mean, aside from that, the only thing that I can see that's problematic about Regina's life is that she's frightened of becoming a mum.
Hey, how are my best girlfriends?
Hey, Mrs. George. This is Katie.
Hello, sweetheart.
Which she will become a mum, and she knows it, because her mum will have been exactly the same as she was in high school, and that terrifies her. And also the pressures of being a leader and having everyone follow on her, on what she says and everything. So, but I always felt that was the main issue with Regina, and why is she so angry? I always put a lot of it down to her sexuality, and I'm just a bit disappointed by the way the film, in an attempt to make the film more progressive, has actually made it more regressive and more boring. In an attempt to make the reboot more palatable to the modern audience, the film incorporates new media quite a lot, and actually pretty successfully for certain things, because it's quite a good device to sort of change the aspect ratio of the screen to illustrate them doing TikTok dances and spreading rumours. So in a lot of ways I really liked it, and it also added to the fast pacing of the film. It certainly made it a lot more dynamic to watch. However, in the desire to include new media in the film, they've come up with one of the most epic f***ups we've seen in modern cinema, and which I'm now going to go into. In the original movie, the most pivotal scene in the whole film, in my opinion, is the Christmas dance sequence, because in this sequence we get to see, they f*** up the performance, and Katie steps up to the plate and actually takes over the group and starts singing, and it's a really powerful moment because everyone in the school's really amazed because she's got a really nice voice, and also the fact she shows some real leadership and ingenuity in saving the performance.
What a bright time, it's the right time to rock the night away. Jingle bell time, it's the swell time to go riding in a one-horse sleigh. Giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet.
And at this exact point, that Katie starts becoming power mad because she starts to usurp Regina. So it's a really important scene in the original. In the reboot, they tried to recreate the scene, but they did it by just having Regina falling over and it being quite embarrassing and everyone getting it on the phones. Because it's already a musical, we didn't have the shock of seeing that, like, Katie coming out with a really powerful singing voice, and so it meant that it just went into like an epic fail that for some reason went viral on social media, even though it wasn't that funny. I mean, it was funny, but it wasn't the type of thing that will go viral, and so that was like implausible. But the thing that really stands out, and this is the thing, and this overshadows everything in the Mean Girls reboot, is that because of the went viral, celebrities started to like pop up and commenting on it. So the celebrity cameos culminated in Megan Thee Stallion coming up with the phrase, Y2K fire crotch is back. That phrase refers to a really unfortunate event that happened in 2006, and it involves Paris Hilton, who was Lindsay Lohan, the star of the original movie's friend, and another friend whose name completely escapes me, but they were walking down the street after a night out, and for whatever reason, Paris's friends launched into a rant about why he didn't like Lindsay Lohan. I watched the footage of it like a few days ago, and it goes in hard. It goes on for quite a long time. The whole thing was captured by paparazzi. It's like sort of a 5-minute long clip, and it's just him ranting constantly about various things that he dislikes about Lindsay Lohan. Most of it's like, of a physical nature, and it's all incredibly foul-mouthed. So that's the type of thing that really, really needs to be left in the past. It's like, 2006 was a different time. It wasn't that different to how things are now, but yeah, it's done. Like, just leave it I'm sure that Paris and Lindsay and the guy whose name I can't even remember, I'm sure those people would be more than happy to let it all go. Apparently it actually went viral at the time because it was so shocking. It was quite big news, and so yeah, it was obviously really unpleasant for the people involved. Do I care that this happened? No, it was so long ago. But I do care in the fact that contemporary filmmakers thought it was a really good idea to leave this reference to it in a film whose central message is one of anti-bullying. To me, it's just absolutely insane. And it's not even like it went down well. Lindsay Lohan was quoted as saying that she was really upset by it. Lindsay Lohan's dad went on Twitter to tell people to boycott the movie. And so, yeah, I mean, so we're dealing with an epic fail. And that's before the audience even, like, walked into the cinema because they've seen Lohan's dad's tweets. So, yeah, it's just, like, in the future, in, like, 5 years from now, I won't remember anything about the Mean Girls movie, but I'll remember the fact I made a YouTube video about it and about, like, just the stupidity. I just can't fathom the decision-making process of the filmmakers to actually script that, film it, and leave it in the film post-production. It's like, I just don't understand it. The mind boggles. It's just the epicness of that fail is just crazy. I mean, to be fair, actually, I probably wouldn't have even bothered making this video if this had happened because, you know, like, the film was okay. I liked bits of it. I had some problems with other bits of it, but it would have been a really boring video if this hadn't have happened. But yeah, this is next level. It's just so stupid. Yeah, so the whole controversy was what I would describe as meta as fuck. Mean Girls, the central message of it is one that opposes bullying and misogynistic slurs. So we have a misogynistic slur involved in all, like, pretty much not only in the film but in all the publicity around the film, which is really up. And another thing is that the much loved original film, it's all about, like, people pulling numbers on each other and doing snidey things. And, you know, and if you're a fan of it and you'll sit through it, and then towards the end there's a long rant by Tina Fey about why you shouldn't behave like that. And I've always thought that rant is just a payoff on the part of the filmmakers so that you won't feel too guilty about the fact that you've just watched quite, like, an evil film, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm not like that, and it's fine. However, in this, it's like there's literally a real example of the type of behaviour that's you know, criticised in the strongest of terms within the film. It actually happens in real life to the start of not only the first film, but the person who was doing a cameo in the reboot. It's just insane. So to sum up, I can't help feeling that the filmmakers just failed to understand the heart of their own source text. There's just so much wrong with it. In an attempt to appeal to a modern audience, they decided to really play down the story about, you know, Regina getting force-fed the high-calorie bars and make it so it didn't make any sense. They tried to make the film more palatable to LGBT viewers, and in the process they made a sympathetic character in the original way more evil than she was in the reboot, and especially, which is really strange because the reboot definitely felt like it was trying to be a lot softer in tone. Regina especially was very foul-mouthed in the original, and, you know, and a lot of her language is really toned down. She's a lot, you know, she's not supposed to be a worthy, like, figure, but she actually kind of is. I mean, in the reboot. I've never really spoke about Katie, who's the character who's the main character in the film, because I don't want to be rude about the woman who played her, because I think she did a pretty good job. However, I never really got the same, like, feeling about her as did with Lindsay Lohan, but in her role, because what happens is always, like, with Mean Girls, I felt that Katie was Regina's worst nightmare, and it was so meta that she was played by Lindsay Lohan, who was, like, at the peak of her profession. So imagine being, like, the queen bee of a school, and then somebody who's got the charisma and looks of a peak Hollywood star's just showing up. That's gonna, like, shake your foundations to the core, surely. And I don't think that Katie had, you know, the actress who plays the new Katie has that same, like, impact. I also felt that Katie, her descent from being a sweet, naive person to being, like, a pretty evil character, I don't think it was anywhere near as impactful as it was in the original. And finally, I think that the message about don't be mean to your friends, don't bully people, you know, don't use misogynistic language because then it makes it even easier for guys to use it against women. All that's just been completely blown out of the water due to the whole meta-narrative of the nasty comments towards Lindsay Lohan. So yeah, that's pretty fucked up. I saw a reboot of She's All That with, you know, it was called He's All That. I saw that a couple of years ago. And that was, you know, yet again, it was a film from the early 2000s. Actually, no, I think it's from the late 90s that was remade, you know, for the modern audience. And that incorporated social media remarkably well, because the star of He's All That was an influencer who, and just without going too far into it, she lost a lot of followers at the start of a film due to events in her personal life, and that was handled really well. It also featured the star of the film meeting up with her boss. I don't know if she was her agent or a client, who was played by Kourtney Kardashian, I believe. It was one of the Kardashians anyway. I think it was Kourtney.
Hi, what's up?
You're going viral in the wrong way.
Okay, so you saw the video, and while it is unfortunate...
Unfortunate? My ex-husband's hiking accident was unfortunate, and he was mauled by bears.
And it was done so effectively because it included like contemporary celebrity cameo, which I could totally imagine Megan Thee Stallion have done, you know, in Mean Girls. And it also features like the real impact of social media on the lives of people who engage with it. I would have loved to have seen the storyline where Regina puts on weight and isn't able to fit into her clothes anymore. I would have loved to have seen that being like updated, to have seen her losing social media followers and, you know, getting like really advice from Katie, and it ends up with her losing even more followers and more followers. That would have been like such a brilliant update on a plot device that really doesn't work that well, and especially didn't work at all in this film. So yeah, there's ways of doing it. I just feel that's what I just felt, is that whilst the events of the reboot are all, you know, more or less identical to the events of the original, except with singing, it just didn't have the same heart as the original, and I find that really disappointing. I can't help feeling that they've really missed a trick with it. And so yeah, it's just all the things that I was worried about with reboots have come to manifest in Mean Girls 2024. Unfortunately, despite the stellar efforts of certain cast members, I've mentioned a couple of them, but a lot of them did a really, really good job. And also some of the look of the film, there was absolutely loved. So it was very, you know, it was very colourful and it was fun to watch, and, you know, and it was fast moving. I mean, it's not a film that I'd tell people not to watch, because I did enjoy it quite a lot, but I can't help saying it's a very pale imitation to the original of the original. I feel really bad what happened to Lindsay Lohan, because it was her, you know, it was obviously a big thing, you know, she was in it when she was 16, she's come back as an adult, and she's had this thing like, you know, like cursing the memory of it, which I think's really bad. So yeah, so anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you think I went in too hard over any of this, because this is like probably like the most, like the harshest video I've made so far. And I'll see you in the next video.